It's 2:43 p.m. on the afternoon of July 24th, 2008. This is Mark Strassman with Etopia News, available on the web at www.etopianews.com. I'm in Santa Monica, California, about to talk to Paul Scott, who's the founder and board member of Plug-in America. Welcome back to Etopia News.
Thank you very much.
In the last segment, we were talking about hybrid electric cars. I'd like to talk now about purely electric cars. What's on the horizon for? First of all, we're going to talk about homemade ones, but first I'd like to talk about manufactured ones direct from the factory. What's the it sounds like a diesel going by now.
It is. You want to start it over?
No, that's all right. Okay. I just tell people how noisy diesels are and how quiet electric cars are.
Well, the big OEMs, the original equipment manufacturers like Toyota, Ford, and so forth, right now they're not announcing pure electric cars, but Nissan is, Volvo is, Mercedes, BMW, all of these companies are building pure electric cars and should be available, I would say, by 2010, 2011. Nissan wants to be first, and they seem to be, Carlos Ghosn, who's the CEO of Nissan, has really turned the corner, and he's taken his company to the forefront of the battery electric car now, and he intends to be the world leader and expects to be selling them in 2010 in the United States and go worldwide mass market by 2012. So we're very much big fans of Nissan right now.
Could that extend to an Acura as well?
It'll extend to everything, you know, but you gotta understand that if you want a big heavy car to run on battery electric, you're going to shorten the range, you know, because it's just basic physics. It takes energy to accelerate a certain amount of mass a given distance.
Talk about, as much as you know, about the, as we let another noisy diesel go by.
Yeah, those diesels make a lot of noise. That's one of the benefits of an electric car. They make no noise.
That's right. Talk about the technology that Nissan is and these other companies are focusing on in their efforts to build all-electric cars.
Well, I can't speak to the motor controller because they're not releasing any of that information, but that technology is very old, very robust, and there aren't any issues around that. It's really the only issues are around what battery are they going to use, and they're going with lithium. Pretty much everybody's going with lithium right now. And so it's a matter of, you know, how much range do you want in the vehicle? And they're going to build vehicles, they're smart. They're not trying to make a 300-mile range battery electric, which is a stupid idea. And anybody who thinks that's a good idea should come talk to me. But you need a range of about 100 to 150 miles. That's what your daily drive is. And anything above and beyond that, yes, you can build a car. I drove a battery electric car 2 years ago that had a range of 300 miles. And it was a 0 to 60 in 3.6 seconds. It was a rocket ship. But you know what? Your daily driver, you're not going to need to go 300 miles. So why pay for the extra batteries? Why pay or have the extra weight to carry around if you don't need it?
So essentially, the drivetrain is a done deal, and they're working on refining the batteries.
Exactly. That's it.
Okay. And to talk about the timing, which you mentioned 2010, 2011, in terms of the infrastructure that we've talked about previously, and who has to do what, or is what needs to be done going to be done in time to support that infrastructure? Or are we just talking about people plugging in from their homes at night at off-peak electricity, and there really is no question about building out the infrastructure?
No, there's definitely going to need to be a build out of the infrastructure because people will want to take advantage of convenience charging. There's a certain segment of the population, I think some 40%, who park their vehicles on the street at night and don't have access to electricity at night. Those people definitely need infrastructure, and for them there's going to be in parking lots. We already have them here in Los Angeles, quite a few of them, where they have these shade structures, these carports that are built out in a parking lot that have solar on the top. So they're generating clean electricity all day long, and they have charging stations underneath them. So the cars get to park in the shade during the day and just sip from sunlight all day long. So it's clean electricity. They're not adding to the electric load on the grid during the day. I mean, they are, but it's being offset by solar electricity. So that's what you'll see in the future. Parking meters, all parking meters in the future will be electric charging stations. And the municipalities will buy energy in bulk from a utility, mark it up a little bit, and sell it to you.
To make sure we have time to talk about it, talk about the scenarios that you see evolving where electric cars become first commonplace, and then dominant, and then almost exclusive. And maybe we can conjure up an image of the last gas station.
Yeah, that'll be nice. I hope I live to get to see that. But gas cars are going to be around for a long time, just because they're still selling 15 million of them a year in this country, and they last 20 years. So it's going to be a while before the last one's gone. But the electric vehicles are starting to be sold now. Tesla Motors has already delivered a handful of theirs, and it's going to increase in volume week by week, month by month. And then next year you're going to see Mitsubishi, possibly Subaru, start selling theirs. Think out of Norway will start selling theirs next year. And so you're going to see thousands next year, tens of thousands in 2010, hundreds of thousands in 2011, and probably millions of electric vehicles by 2012 or 2013. It really depends on how fast the battery factories can gear up and how quickly the car makers start implementing them. That's the fastest I could see it. Now, it could be delayed a little bit. They might want to take it a little bit slower, but the demand is definitely there. They could sell millions of EVs today if they were on the market.
The truly mass market acceptance is going to rely on OEMs, but talk about the situation today in terms of retrofitting or conversions. Who's doing that, how it works, what the dynamics are there?
There's been garage mechanics, backyard mechanics that have been doing this for decades. You get some lead acid batteries, an old DC motor, and a controller, and you rip out all the internal combustion engine equipment and replace it with this. And you can make a 40-mile range battery electric car pretty easily. But now people are getting more sophisticated. Companies like AC Propulsion in San Dimas, California, have been making these converted Scion XBs, the square boxy Toyota, and they run like Porsche 911s. They're extremely fast, 150, 180-mile range. It's an inexpensive proposition. Other companies are stepping up and making conversions that are in the $20,000 to $35,000 range with nickel metal hydride or lithium batteries. So you're starting to see a lot of those as well.
How can people who want to get their cars converted now get the information that they need?
Certainly do a Google search. That information's out there. Start Googling electric vehicle conversions, and depending on what city you're in, you might be able to find somebody local. You might have to go a distance to find somebody.
Okay. Now, in conversations, including this one about electric cars, people are very enthusiastic, and they just seem to be really great things without any downsides. But it's occurred to me that you can get killed drag racing an electric car just as easily as you can with a gasoline car. You can be in an accident. You can sit in a traffic jam. Looking beyond electric cars, do you see any scenarios that would reduce America's dependence on cars as a way of life?
Well, certainly
you got a minute. You got a minute to solve this.
You're going to have you're going to build neighborhoods around the nodal operation where you have stores and schools and everything within walking distance of neighborhoods. That's going to take place, and obviously mass transit has to be implemented on a much wider scale. But unfortunately, we built our country out on cheap energy, so we've got neighborhoods, far-flung neighborhoods all over the place where people got these cheap houses and they drive long distances to work.
So do you see a role for electric cars in doing that transition from the far commute necessary to a more village-oriented way of life?
Well, it's just a tool to transport people, so
right.
Cleanly. So it's not going to really affect that. And, really, the long-term thing, we need to get a handle on population growth. We really have to do that. That's the #1 issue.
Another segment, another time. In the 1 minute we've got left, talk about why you do this.
Well, I do it because it feels good. I want to affect change. I want to, my philosophy in life is that, when I die, I want the world to be a better place because I was here, I lived. And I found this by accident. I got cancer, survived that, and decided I didn't want to waste any more time with my life. So I got the solar, and through the research in the solar, I found the electric car. And once I put the EV and the PV together, electric vehicle and photovoltaics, I realized this was a very powerful thing, and I needed to get the word out. So that's what I'm going to spend the rest of my life doing, is getting the word out.
That's what you've been doing here in the sun and the wind, and I want to thank you for doing the work and for talking to us on Etopia News.
You're welcome.